Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smalltalk episode 40. This is the Smallville retrospective podcast. I'm one-third of your co-host. My name is Ryan Cam. Joining me, as always, from 3D Movie Cinema, it's Jacob Collins with his hat and a new setup. Collins, how you doing?
Cool as fuck, G. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, H.
I am just here. And thank you all for the kind wishes for my birthday. I really appreciate it. It was a interesting birthday to say the least. And so I had a great birthday. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we can definitely hear you.
Okay.
And
So it was so today I just relaxed. I had to work the graveyard shift, so that's why we're doing this. We're recording this actually. That it's the same on your end, but it's different on our end because we shot this on the weekend. So so that's going to be interesting.
Normally we shoot on Thursday. I edit it today, and then it's ready by Monday at least. So I'm gonna have to get on my high horse for this one, but it's ain't nothing but a thing. But speaking of, Matt Wyatt, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm just glad to get into this last of the 3 episodes before we get into the finale, which I'm excited for the finale.
Speaking of the finale, this is going to be a very busy week for the show here on this channel because today, if you are watching this, that means that we are going to be covering season 5 episodes 19, 20, and 21. But later on tonight, 9 Eastern time, we will be doing the watch party for season 5 episode 22 called Vessel. We'll be doing this watch along style. And in a way, it's going to be the end of an era because this is the last episode of Smallville under the WB banner, which, Collins, thank you in advance for creating the thumbnail for that. I'm going to add it in post. But this is going to be the end of the WB era. We're entering Smallville on the CW, which is a little weird to say, but we've essentially crossed the halfway point of this show, which is just wild to me. I remember when we first started, and I remember watching this first episode of like the entire series thinking, oh, this is really cool, and wow, we have come a long way. Like Jonathan's dead. This show's quality has hit the side of a mountain. It's just been it's it's been a ride, and we've still got a lot more left to go. But thank you all so much for sticking with us. We've got 4 more seasons left, and so yeah, I think we can jump into 19, 20, and 21, which, I mean, these episodes were better, but it's like, I don't know, after Jonathan's death, I feel like this show has just taken a turn that I'm not particularly happy about. But I'm the novice, so maybe I'm just talking out of my ass on that. This is season 5, episode 19, called Mercy, aka I'm gonna tell my kids this was Saw 11. Lionel is kidnapped by a jigsaw-type killer. I'm not making this up. This is literally the IMDb description. His kidnapper will let him go only if he survives several tasks that are laid out in front of him. To boot, he throws in a twist. He's kidnapped Martha Kent as well. With time running out, Lionel must save Martha and survive the task long enough for Chloe and Clark to find them both. So this is essentially a 42-minute Saw movie. Like it's got like the killer is basically Jigsaw. He appears almost exclusively in video messages except for the ending. There are even parts where the guy says, "I want to play a game." And there's also a dude where it's at the very end where there's a big old thing saying game over. I was half expecting Shawnee Smith to pop up and be like game over and then slam the door on Donnie Wahlberg.
Game over.
I'll fucking kill you!
You're expecting it to be a little bit of a plot twist within the plot twist at the end.
Knowing how much of a Saw movie this episode was, it wouldn't put it past me. But Matt, what did you think?
I thought it was a fine episode. I know it's a complete like rip off from Saw episode because of the moment when I watched this when it aired, I was like, oh my god, they really are ripping off Saw. And now that Lionel is like playing a sick game from one character who is an employee from Lionel from the Luther Corp that got screwed over the Apex takeover. I thought it had some fun stuff, even though it's not as graphic as this episode was, but it's not as bad. I mean, I kind of like the ending part where now that Clark is confronting Lionel about him knowing about his secret and his Kryptonian origin, and that was the best part of that episode.
I like that it was like a mercy, like it was Lionel's mercy, and I like how Lionel was like, "Hey, if you're gonna kill me," he says, "if you're going to kill me," he goes like, it's like he thinks Lex is the one that did this to him, and then Lex is like, "If I wanted to kill you," he goes, "Why would I do it whenever, why would I do this whenever, like I just hired you back, like I wouldn't want to kill you and just get rid of my prized assets," and so that really was something that I thought was really enjoyable, and I also like that literally I thought was really well done was like how Lex tried to patch his relationship up with Clark. I thought that was really well done, and I thought, oh man, like because Lex he truly does care for Clark, like he really does. He literally is like, hey, look, Clark. He says when all this is said and done, I think we should be friends, and I think that's what really made it work for me was that this is just like it made me really appreciate it more that this is about Lex and Clark, and so I really like that aspect of it.
Well, the episode came out in 2006, so I think it was like around the time that Saw 2 came out at the time.
I know the first
Can you
Saw
guys hear me?
came out in 2004, and then Saw
Sorry.
2 came out in '05, and then Saw 3 came out in '06. So we're literally in like the prime cut Saw era almost, where like Saw is like just getting started. It's crazy to think that there's soon to be 11 movies, but it's like Saw 1 is '04, Saw 2 is '05. So Miller and Goff must have either watched at least one or maybe two or perhaps both. So it's
Well,
I don't know.
Saw was a big hit at the time during its run. It like everybody knew those movies.
Oh, it was a huge hit. It made like $100 million on like a $10 million budget, overshooting how
Yeah,
much it.
every year it was Saw. Every year it was Saw, and also because they shot it less on the budget, it was not like over like 100 million or 200 million.
Yeah.
It's like, do you have an empty warehouse in Canada? Yes, we'll rent it. And like that was where most of the budget went, and the actors.
They
But
probably the showrunners had to fucking like go through the legal rights of whether they should use the idea of Saw without getting sued by the filmmakers.
I wouldn't put it past him because literally the villain in this is Jigsaw. He's got like a Jigsaw-esque mask. It's made out of tinfoil, it looks like. Like it literally looks like
Had glowing blue eyes underneath.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't
Game
know
over,
I swear to God, I thought they were gonna play the music.
I don't know if you guys
Game over.
I don't know if you guys
I want
remember
to play a
the
game.
opening of Scream where Drew Barrymore is making that popcorn on the stove where you put it on the stove and like the big old thing of tinfoil like blows up like looking like a brain. The mask looked
Yeah.
like it was made of the tinfoil from that.
It did look like a tinfoil that he made out of. I mean, it's kind of odd that he was able to orchestrate this whole thing. An employee from Luther Corp that got laid off after the whole Apex takeover from Lionel himself and got screwed over. How he was able to pull it off, I don't know how. He must be really a mastermind of this shit.
The thing that annoyed me more than anything was that this was deliberately shot. It was deliberately shot to look like we don't see this dude's face, but Lionel's being like, you do that again, you'll be working at a convenience store watching hot dogs roll or something to that effect. And you do not see his face. And as he walks out of Lionel's office, I'm like, oh, we'll be seeing him later. And sure enough, we do.
Did you really think that that was the same guy in the office before you see the reveal at the end? Did you really think that was him?
Yes, it was definitely him. Like they tried to make like Lex out to be
Because the
like,
timing,
like
the timing was a little, the timing itself was very off.
kind of teased it like maybe it's Lex. I'm like, yes, because Lex would certainly do something like this. And let's be clear, Lionel has done bad things to Lex in this show. The brain stuff, the putting him in an asylum thing, like that has been well documented. But Lex would never do something like this. I mean, like
he's already seen Lionel suffer a lot, especially going to prison and losing everything from Luther Corp, and then having him work to Luther Corp, and then having Lionel try to take Luther Corp from him from that Apex takeover from that incident. And then he completely failed. It's like seeing him fail. Retribution was enough.
it was too obvious. Like they're trying to be like, oh, Lex might be responsible. I'm like, no, he's not. Like, first of all, there is no way that he would like set it up to where his father would be run over by a train. Like I love how there's a scene where he's like, I got run over by a train. I'm like, didn't that go out of style in the 1920s? I'm like,
I love that. That was pretty good. That was a
that
good
was a nice
reference.
little burn there. But
Sick burn.
it was too obvious. It was the dude who was the security. We don't see his face, and that was shot away to where I was like, yep, he's definitely your villain. And
I did like how Lionel was dissing him about chess game, that he would lose all the time. And Lionel would always beat Lex in chess. It's like, how about a game of Hangman? That's always been a good game.
and sure enough, the scene before they played like Diet Jigsaw and Lionel played a game of Hangman, which admittedly was a pretty tense little scene. I'm gonna give him credit where credit is due. Like he's trying to figure it out. The train is coming, like the 10/31/98 sketch in VHS. And he's like, no mercy. And then he like gets out and then like runs and then the car just completely explodes like the end of
And
that.
surprisingly, this is like the first time we see a car explosion that was done in CGI and not in practical, because we've always seen vehicles get blown up practical.
Yeah, that was like sticking out like a sore thumb there because it's pretty well known that they blow up their own cars when it
That's
comes to
true. They
stuff.
would.
But I want to
And
talk
also
about,
that Martha got caught in the middle of this whole game.
yeah, absolutely. And she learns essentially about Apex and that whole thing.
What did you think of that second? What did you think about that game when they're doing this whole crossword puzzle?
Honestly, I think that may have been my favorite part because Lionel's there. He's like trying to figure out. He's like, "What does this all mean?" And like poor Martha, she's in this tank and she's like slowly being drowned. And
And
like
he's still figuring out what the fucking crossword things like fear takeover.
you just get a sense of just sheer terror. Like of all the traps that we see in this episode, that's the one that was like really like stuck out to me. And when he's like, let's get out of here to freedom, and then like the dude's like, okay, there is no freaking way that this is the end of this. And sure enough, it wasn't. We get the elevator stuff.
Oh yeah, we get that whole little elevator conversation about the Apex takeover and how much Lionel wanted to take everything from Lex in order to bring back his humanity. And Mara's like, "Do you ever think you've just thought about talking to your own son, father to son?" Yeah, but that might have worked in the Kemp family, but that doesn't work for us as the Luthers.
But we get a little bit of Lana stuff here where Lana's trying to learn chess, and it's like I was just in there like, dang it again. Like this woman cannot have a consistent relationship between Whitney and then like just damn like Clark and now Lex. It's just like this woman just can't win. It's been established that Jor-El is basically or Lionel is Jor-El's human host for lack of a better word. So a thought that I was having throughout was is this Jor-El talking to Clark or is this Lionel or perhaps it may be both. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting question. Or to myself anyway.
Yeah, I think it's just because that he's now know everything about Clark after he has all the knowledge from Jor-El, and now he's his vessel. So now he's completely a changed man, and he wants Clark to be his ally. But Clark doesn't really fully trust him. He thinks he has his own agenda, his own angle that he's got up his sleeves. And I thought that the performance between him and when John Glover was actually really good. The ending really hit hard. Like he's just threatening him to stay out of his life.
I thought it was really funny how they killed the guy who says, I put you in a limo. And then he lets him go and like talk to Lex and everything. Then he abducts him from his office. I'm like, you let him literally, he's like, oh, I'm going to put him through a death trap. And then I'm going to let him go. And then I'm going to let him think he's safe. And then I'm going to punk him again. Oh, it's going to be so classic. I'm just like, how is that
Yeah, but
Like,
the one question, Jake. I mean, when you watched this episode for the first time, did you really think that was the security guy that was in Lionel's office the moment that he leaves, and then the killer just comes in and just antagonizes him? Did you really think that was actually the guy at first when you
honestly, I'm
watched
like,
it?
Lionel has so much bad security. It's really not that, like, you're just like, this is red shirt number one.
I mean, it's just like a prime example that Lionel has many enemies, and you always got to be careful who you cross paths and whose lives that you may ruin.
I mean, seriously, if you think about it, if you really truly think about it, you know what? Lionel has so many bad enemies that really, if you think about it, anyone, like anybody, like Clark could easily do this. And I think honestly, it's really clever though that like this guy literally killed. He goes literally like I like how he puts Lionel through these tests. It reminds me of Saw 6 or Saw 7, whatever. Like the guy is like literally his fiance's there, and he says you have to put the hooks around you. And even Lionel's even dressed like I'm not saying that the Saw guys ripped off this episode. The writers did. I'm just saying if you look at Saw the final chapter or Saw 3D, and then you watch this, I'm just saying they have a case. That's all I'm saying. It's the Smallville. Because literally, you have a female, then you have the male who's wearing like a wife beater shirt, and he's just like having to do something, and he's like, and I'm just saying like that.
Dude, how great in shape that John Glover was when he took off his shirt and he used this like wife beater, and dude, that dude was in great shape at that guy's age.
I'm just saying, I really did enjoy this episode. It's like it's something different. It's not like it's not about aliens or not. It's just about a guy who wants to kill Lionel. Even though literally, like, how would this guy get away with it? It makes no sense how he would get away with this because like Lionel would have the FBI and all this other stuff all over this stuff to where this guy would have been caught like an hour later.
I mean, when he interrogate the whole employees, the entire like the
all right, how was my security team able to get there? Instead, he's just like, well, I got to focus on Clark now. Old Lionel would have been like, everybody's fired. My driver's fired. Everybody's fired.
You're fired. You're fired. Everyone's fired.
It would be termination day at Luthor Corp.
And also, I mean, the little guy that just walked out of there and in the beginning of the episode just got abducted again and went through a hell of a trial through the bucket.
How did the guy get in there? He doesn't have security. He doesn't have security. Like, he literally just got abducted. You would think they'd be like, fucking the police would be everywhere. And they're like, all right, don't worry.
When he called the FBI for but wouldn't Lionel call the FBI for protection?
You know what I said? I thought it was going to happen because it's been a while since I've seen this episode. I thought the killer was going to call him and say he has to leave and walk out of the building, and then he was going to abduct him outside the building because he knows he's hugely protected. I didn't know that it was like a booby trapped his office, and I'm like, that's just so dumb. Because how is he going to get out? What are they going to see him in the elevator carrying Lionel Luthor? Like,
I don't know how he grabbed this body out of there. How is that? That's beyond me.
He put him down the building, got a scaffolding. You put him down the building.
You probably say, "Oh, Lionel's drunk. I got to take him home."
It killed me when Lex at the end of the episode was like, they caught the guy. He was at the bar celebrating your demise. I was just like, I would have loved to put a fly on the wall in that bar.
He was like, I don't care if he doesn't care if whether he gets caught or not, as long as he knows you're dead.
I guarantee you Lex was there probably. When they were like, I'll probably wait until they like, yeah, he's here, Mr. Luthor. And Lex probably walked up there and was like, so he goes, I hear you like to play jigsaw on people's lives. And I'm sure Lex had some words with him, and he's like, why did you try to kill my father, huh? And he's just like, and he's just probably celebrating. He goes, well, the joke's on you because my father's still alive. And then I'm sure that's when he was just like probably upset, and they're like, no. It's probably played out like they show Law and Order.
Dude, if they show that in the episode, that would have been funny. Like they did it so much off screen.
And then Lex
kind of sees like he kind of deserved it.
Then Lex and Lionel would have slammed the door and said, game over, slam.
How messed up was the limo driver getting torched alive after he failed that
was so dark. Like
that wasn't even CGI fire. Like those were really done on the practical.
Not gonna lie, this literally was like the darkest episode out of all the episodes this season.
Oh, and also Lionel is walking in his bare foot with the flames coming out of the floor. Like, what the fuck?
So can we establish that the writers read Saul this week? Their watch list was Saul.
Saul.
They were in the middle of a pitch meeting and they had their watch list on their.
They brought Saul out, the DVD of Saul out, and said, "Make this episode." Like the guy goes jigsaw on Saul. We need to get the teenagers in. The teenagers got to watch Lionel Luthor get tortured. Who should we do it? Martha? No. Clark, no. Lex, we've already done that with Lex. What about Lionel? Perfect. I guarantee you, they probably said Lex, and they're like, well, Lex, no.
Another one was doing the crossword puzzle that was very intense to save Martha from drowning
No
from her
mercy.
like no mercy. No, it was like no, not no mercy, like Apex takeover. Like he's trying to solve the crossword puzzles that fear Toad takeover or whatever that it says on the board.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I mean, it was. I will say, I did really enjoy the whole Martha, and then Clark saving him. I thought it was stupid that how Lionel gets out and just walks away. It's like, oh, just walks away.
That was
and I'm just like,
miraculous. Thank you, son.
what? And then on top of it, I really enjoyed. I also really enjoyed. Like Clark catching the elevator. He was gonna kill them. Like he was just literally like Martha and him were like, oh, they're fucking both dead. There's not like that. Jigsaw at least gives you a chance. This guy wasn't even Jigsaw. He's like, fuck that. I don't care if Lionel only does redeem himself. Fuck you, Lionel.
Was cool. It was cool seeing Lex and Clark team up for at least temporarily.
And I know Lex tried to patch things up too.
He tried to. He was trying to patch things up because now he's about to put them. Because now that Lana and Lex are most likely going to end up together, and he knows he's not going to be happy with it once he finds out about their.
And we got some dumb bullshit between Lana and Chloe going, oh, well, we're not together. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
Like, I don't
care, dude. It's like, we had this bullshit with Lana and Clark. I don't need this bullshit with Lana and Lex now. Or will they, won't they bullshit. Okay, just say they're together and move the fuck on.
We're literally like back to square one with this love triangle.
It's like they literally have nothing for Lana to do, so they just go back to will they, won't they. They're like, well, they can't do it now with Jensen Ackles. They can't do it with Clark now. Who the fuck do it? Lex right here. Will they, won't they with Lex? What's next? Will they, won't they with Lionel? Will they, won't they?
It's will they, won't they? I mean, I think it's just because Kristen Crook is under contract. I don't know for how many seasons, and they have to fucking just milk this in for her story arc because they have nothing else to do with her. We got to add more internal conflict with the love triangle with Lex, Clark, and Lana. Bullshit love story. Like, oh, like we don't care. She has
one of the worst storylines in season 6. I hated her. Oh
yeah, I agree with you.
Lana has one of the worst storylines in season 6. Hers is the worst.
I once again state for the record, and let me cup my hands for this one, Lana should have been written off at the end of season 3.
So. I completely agree with you on that. I think that at the time when she was moving to Paris, that's when they should have been done then.
To be fair, like they really should have probably put Chloe. They could probably rework the story and make it like Lois or Chloe running from the Kryptonians when they arrive. I mean, they could have. Lois, the best female character on the show is Lois. We all know.
Oh, absolutely. And
also because they give her more to do. It's like, you know what, you can make her. Instead, they just try to make her like, oh, because being a goody two shoes girl does not make you boring. Does not mean, oh, how do we write a goody two shoe girl? Boring. No, you can write literally Wednesday Addams. These are the same showrunners that wrote the Wednesday show.
Yeah, they wrote the Wednesday show, and they made Beetlejuice too.
Yes, and I will say, they did have omitted over the years. They said, look, if we were writing the show today, we would have made Lana more compelling. They would not have made her just like a will. They won't just done love triangles with the females.
Yeah, it was a network done at the time that they thought that love triangle and love story drama would be more compelling.
We don't want fucking Dawson's Creek, okay? We don't want Dawson's Creek.
We don't want Dawson's Creek. We don't want One Tree Hill. We don't want that shit. And I think they should have done.
We want Superman, damn it.
Yeah, but my pitch for how they should have written Lana out of the show, like when she moved to Paris, but then when you bring but then you have Lois on the show for season 4, and you let the relationship between him and Clark progress, but not be in a relationship right away. Like you can stretch it out for like a few seasons and build that relationship between Clark and Lois, and that would have been much better in my opinion.
You want to hear something funny? So literally, when they were being interviewed for the 20th anniversary for the Blu-ray box set was coming out, and they had the whole cast on a Zoom because it was 2020.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't really be in the studio. And so then one guy, I guess this man was gay. Because I mean, first off, I think you could tell he was, but he asked this question to where he was just like, so let me ask you, Lex and Clark, have you ever sensed there was a will they, won't they with him and Lex and Clark? Like there was sexual tension between the two? And then Michael Rosenbaum goes, I've never seen that before. I mean, you're the first person I hear. He said, I mean, he said and then he goes, there's a lot of gays out there that really want Lex and Clark to get together. And he goes, I always seen them as the brother he's never had. I have never seen him as
You see what my problem is? Like, my problem is that they always read they literally just read too much into it. And now in today's day and age, like, are they gay? Like, no, they weren't. They weren't intended.
I will say there was a time where, like, when Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out, the marketing was done with Faith, okay, with the way it was done with Faith and Buffy, to where they had to revise the marketing because people were thinking, okay, there's sexual tension between. And they're like, no, there's not. There's not. And then I think it was oh god, the way the marketing.
I think it might have been
my bad.
I think it might have been the marketing. I think it was the marketing that had something to do with it that kind of messed with the audience. But also, they always poked fun of the whole Clex or Clois or Klana. They always poked fun of that during season 6 behind the scenes of are they going to end up together? Will they? Won't they?
We'll discuss that on the other spin-off podcast on this channel, Slayer Talk, where we talk Buffy and review every album of the band Slayer. But let's
Slayer.
That'll be for another time. But we do have 2 other episodes to get to, so let's give it a rating. Jacob, 1 to 10, what do you got?
I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I thought it was a really fun episode.
All right, Matt.
By the way, I saw this episode in 2008. I didn't watch this in Syndicate. I'd never seen this episode before 2008. Even though I was watching Smallville currently, I had missed this episode. And I was literally going to see Iron Man 1 in theaters. And so I saw this episode and I was like, oh my God, this is such a good episode. And it was literally on. And I'm like, I got to go see Iron Man 1. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I'll just watch it later. And I never did because it never came back on. And I was just, I didn't tell I get the DVD box set to watch it. And I'm like, this is so cool. Because Lionel jumps out of a train, a fucking train comes and hits his car. And he jumps. I'm like, that's such a good, I don't know if that's practical or CGI. That looks so good.
That was CGI. That was absolutely so CGI.
Good. Yeah. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with Jake on this. It was a Saw ripoff, but it was actually a fun filler episode, but it also pushed forward of what Lionel and Clark's relationship loyalty lies in the future of the show. So yeah, this is easily an 8 out of 10. I had a lot of fun watching it, and I watched it like when it first aired on television during the WB.
What do you fucking do, Matt?
Not to brag.
We are simpatico for the first time in a while. I'm giving it an 8 as well. I was kind of tongue-in-cheek with the whole Diet Saw thing, but it's just I love Saw so much, so I guess I saw it a little too much here. But
I mean, we talked about that earlier when his mask was made out of tin foil.
Yeah.
And it just has a blue light under his mask to make it look so dramatic, and has a voice changer.
Move on now. This is season 5, episode 20, called Fade. While in Metropolis with Chloe, Clark saves the life of Graham Garrett without knowing that he is a professional killer known as Chameleon with the ability of becoming invisible. Actually, Chameleon is a Spider-Man villain, but semantics. The young man/thug feels in debt to Clark and wants to please him with a $20,000 plasma TV and home theater of the latest generation first, and even eliminating Lex Luthor to permit Clark to be with Lana again. So I got a kick out of like the TV that he like bought for like Clark is like 20 grand. I was just sitting there like, this would be like $200 today.
There's one thing I want to say. Oh, first off, his name is Chameleon, okay?
Yes.
First off, you're in the wrong fucking universe, buddy, because you're I think you're missing a guy that, well, you're in the wrong city and you're in the wrong universe. You're missing a guy doing this, you know? He's a Sonyverse villain that's that's stuck in a Smallville show. He's like, yeah, I just fought Jared Leto's Kraven the Hunter. Now I'm gonna go and hit. I mean, to be fair, I was just thinking the Chameleon. I'm like, somewhere Marvel should have been like, oh, fuck you, DC. No, you're not stealing our villain. Fuck you.
They're just stealing the name of the title. That's supposed to be his alias as a contract killer to keep his true identity hidden.
You know, this villain.
They only just stole the name.
Basically, the Invisible Man. Okay.
Yeah, he's the Invisible Man.
We have an Invisible Man villain.
But he's a meteor freak. He's a meteor freak.
I'm just saying, why do we keep going back to Invisible? Yeah, Invisibility is not like people say it is a movie. When you walk around and do this, if he's sitting there going, Hey, there's somebody right there. He's breathing. He's breathing, everyone.
If you feel something's breathing on you.
Like seriously, there is a scene in the episode where kind of pulling out the logic in this. Whenever he makes a noise, Lex shoots his fucking ass. Because I'm like, no fucking shit, that would happen. That is what happens. You are an invisible. You are not silent. You are invisible. Okay? If you fart, they're gonna hear the fart. It doesn't make your ass silent too.
Like,
Sorry.
imagine if you're the cop, like, where is he? Like, where is to the
Achoo!
Yeah, what if you sneeze? Yeah, but what if you sneeze accidentally and then boom, you're dead? And also, like, one little negative, I don't know if it's not really a negative, but come on, Lex keeps a fucking 9mm silence suppressor in a fucking hospital bedroom. That's allowed?
He probably has it up his ass, okay? Because that's what you do. A billionaire's, you keep a 9mm up your ass. That way, if they knock you out, you pull. It's like, I got an ass gun. Watch this. And that's what I always watch. This show called those cop shows, and every time it makes me mad when the cop shows up and he gets always knocked out. And I'm like, put a gun up your ass, okay? Literally, there is no way they can't. They're not gonna look up your ass. They're like, hey, search his ass. You pull the gun out and like, ha, ass gun.
And also, he should have thrown a bunch of food all over him if he's trying to spot him when he's trying to pull the trigger on the Grant.
Elizabeth Moss from that Invisible Man movie from a few years ago had the right idea. She dumped a bunch of white paint on like the Invisible Man to see where he was.
Or in Hollow Man, where this woman was throwing all big blood bags all over the floor to track him. Kevin Bacon in the movie.
This villain, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Jumper with Hayden Christensen.
I did.
It kind of reminded me of him, like his character, like his character when he's a boy drowns and then he discovers the power to jump and then he robs the bank and then like fast forward to him like this nice apartment and cars and all of this. I was just sitting there like, he discovered the power of invisibility and he did what we all would have done, just like rob a bank and then just buy nice things.
But he doesn't rob a bank. He doesn't rob a bank. He became a contract killer that he can get in and out without being seen, and he can keep himself incognito.
Jumpability aside, this is actually a fun episode.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun, but it was kind of like it's my least favorite of the episode.
I can see why. I mean, I thought it was fun. Like, I will say, it is a vast majority. Like, if this was the only episode, if this episode came out last week with the other three, that would have been the best episode.
Oh, by far.
This would have been the best episode because this is actually fun. Like, I will say, one thing I really liked about it is, like he kills, like, Clark saves the guy's life, then he kills somebody. Which, by the way, didn't y'all get Suicide Squad 2016 vibes with the Deadshot scene? I got that vibe when I was watching it. I'm like, the one Deadshot's gonna kill the witness protection guy. It reminded me of that scene in Suicide Squad 2016 when the hitman's gonna like, oh, you saved my life, and then he kills the guy that's a witness. That just reminded me of that scene. I was just watching it, going, this is kind of like that, but only. Deadshot shot him on the building.
Yeah, he shot him on the building. He didn't get his life saved. He just killed the guy who was in witness protection that he was hired to kill. And then he was just like Black was toying with the guy who was his benefactor to get more money. I did enjoy the aspect of him saving a man's life and you don't know who that person is, and he's questioning like, hey, if I hadn't saved his life, would that man still be standing? But Chloe tells him, like, you know what? We can't always do that. Just same thing when we save people from a burning building or saving people who are getting shot. You have to save people first and ask questions later.
I like how it parallels to Clark saving Lex, like because remember when Clark saved Lex, Lex trying to send him a car.
Oh yeah, that was definitely a parallel.
Which, I mean, seriously though, I really thought that was really cool. So then he tries to return. Then the guy tries to be his best friend, and he tries to get him laid and stuff. And he's like, I don't want that. And he's like, I just want Lana. And then first off, he goes and tries to get with Lois. And I love the scene. So me and Ryan were talking off camera about the Lois scene where she opens the shower door and she's like, and then Clark's like,
I love that. That was perfect. Hey, and that's like saying now we're even. Now we saw each other naked.
Yeah, and Lois killed me with like at the end where she's like, I just want to meet a nice guy from a nice family. I'm like, give it a few years.
Just give it a few years, give it a few more seasons, and then you'll get there, Lois. And I did like the part where Martha is saying like, "Hey, I've been through bad relationships before in order to find the right guy for me, and you have to go through bad relationships to find the right person for you."
I will say there is one thing I do like also is how like he tries to kill Lex, like just tries to strangle Lex, and then it fails when Lana catches him. And then like I like how Clark tries to stop him, but then I like how it's not like, oh, I was like, oh God, is this gonna be like whenever like Clark versus the Invisible Man? No, it's not. I like how it's Lex versus the Invisible Man because he goes in there to tries like because he's like, I have no beef with you, Clark. I'm trying to make us even here. I'm gonna kill Lex Luthor so that way you can be with Lana. And then he goes in there, and Lex literally hears the invisible guy again. He gets the pistol, he starts shooting. To which I'm like, why wouldn't he have a security team? There were gunshots in the hospital too. Gunshots.
But also, he did have a security guard that Grant knocked both security guards to break in. Yeah. And also, yeah, he did try to kill Clark after he knows too much. So he's trying to tie up loose ends with no witnesses involved after he failed to kill Lex the first time. But also, that was kind of stupid that he tries to strangle him and completely fails. Like, you think he's not going to get out of that strangulation? You couldn't figure out you could have just stabbed him or something. Or slit his throat.
How Lex just kills him too. Lex kills him. Lex just kills him.
Well, no, he had him wounded, but if it weren't for Clark coming in to save the day to catch that bullet, Lex would have been done for.
I thought Lex killed him.
No, he not really. He bled out when he was bullet wounded, but he was still trying to get to Lex when he grabs Lana out of the hospital in the hallway.
Died, right?
But he was close to killing him until Clark intervened and stopped the bullet. And then he died.
Lex just goes like that. I do how like that. Lex just like shot him, and then then Lana hates his fucking guts after that.
But also, it was so messed up that Clark caught Lex and Lana in the act when they're in their little makeout session.
Like, why does he care? Why does he care?
Oh, you cannot be with Lex. What?
It's like a circular firing squad.
It's gonna just wait till next season, Ryan. The next season's is even more fucked up.
It's going to be more irritating and fucked up.
I'm looking
It's going to be like
sarcasm.
Literally, it's going to be so fucked up. That's all I'm saying, Ryan. It's fucked up. There's something that happens next year. You're like, what? That's fucked up.
Especially with Lex. Like, what? He did that? He went there? What the fuck? The writers were thinking.
But I think we've covered just about everything here. So, Jacob, 1 to 10, what do you got?
I want to give it. Well, I will say, even though I hated the power, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna give it 7 invisible 7 invisible shield out of 10.
All right.
Watch, it's just gonna be nothing. I'm just gonna put nothing on the score. It's just gonna be nothing.
You have spoken it into existence. Now it must happen. So, Matt, what about
nothing on the scoreboard? He's like,
yeah, it had some good stuff. It was an okay episode. It's my least favorite of the 3, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's still a positive rating, but it's still not an episode that it wasn't really quite needed.
Yeah, I'm going to go 6.5. I think I may have liked it a little bit more than you guys. I mean, like, we're on the same wavelength. I gave it a little bit more of a bump there.
Well, actually, Jay gave it a 7, so he enjoyed it more out of the 3 of us.
I did enjoy it more. I will say, I just did not like the Invisible fucking Man. Though.
Yeah, the Invisible Man was silly.
All right.
If he would have if he would have made it come out puffed out of smoke or something, would have made more sense than I'm invisible, so you cannot hear me.
Well, regardless, let's move on to our final episode. And the penultimate episode of season 5. This is
the best episode of this 3. I always call it it's the episode before the finale. The episode, the pre-finale.
Called Oracle.
Oh yeah, this is so good.
Oracle.
This is where it gets juicy.
Thursday. I didn't take Lana from you. You lost her all by yourself. One chapter ends.
Is there anything that would make Clark Kent kill someone?
You killed my father. No. And another begins. You're too late, Kal-El. Zod is coming. Fresh Smallville, followed by Supernatural on the WB Thursday.
On the day of his birthday, celebrated with Martha, Chloe, and Lois, Clark receives an envelope from Jonathan that Martha found with 2 baseball tickets and a message addressed to Clark. Clark visits Jonathan's grave, and his father appears and advises Clark to kill Lionel to save the human race. Later, Jonathan appears to Martha to convince her that Clark must kill Lionel. Meanwhile, Lex is dating Lana, and shares with her that he had developed a vaccine to protect mankind against the virus collected by Milton Fine. That hits a little different in 2024, but anyway. When Milton meets Lex, he injects the virus in Lex and destroys the laboratory. Lionel convinces Clark that he is an oracle to the spirit of Jor-El and shows the messages he has been written in Kryptonian. Chloe studies the pattern of the writing, and Clark translates, "Zod is coming." So,
Dun dun dun. Kneel before Zod.
Kneel before Zod!
we've got a Zod sighting, folks, or well, not quite, but we're getting there. But yeah, this episode was very good. It was kind of odd seeing kind of dark Jonathan almost, but that was just pretty much a ruse. It was a little culture shock to be like like John Schneider evil. That makes no sense to me. But again, it was
Yeah, but one question, like, did you really believe that was Jonathan in the cemetery, in the graveyard with Clark, telling him that he needs to kill Lionel Luthor in order to save the world? Did you really believe that was actually Jonathan Kent?
Well, there are a few absolutes in the Smallville canon. The Luthor Mansion has the worst security ever, and Jonathan Kent will always hate Lionel Luthor no matter what. So it's not too far out of bounds. But then when you put even a thought into it, you're like, Jonathan would never say this about anyone or anything for that matter.
I mean, no matter how much he despises Lionel, he would not want to have Clark to like murder him in cold blood.
When they did the Who Shot the Lionel Luthor episode in season 2, we already knew Jonathan Kent was the prime suspect. We knew that it was not real. So like they would not go back to the saying, "Oh yeah, Jonathan, it do every day." Yeah, it would undo every. I'm trying to say it, but it's like
it's just rolling off the
tongue. More like frolicking off the tongue, but
no, it would literally be like undo everything that that with Jonathan Kent's arc, because we all know he would never kill Lionel Luthor, even though he hates him. He would beat the shit out of him like he did in season 5 and before he died, that episode he died in. But he would never kill Lionel Luthor, because the only way he would kill Lionel Luthor is if Clark's life was in danger, and that was the only option. But if he
was left to that option.
But like he would never kill Lionel Luthor. I mean, like seriously, and even in his darkest moments. And the only time you can say, well, he showed up with a shotgun in season 3 and pointed a shotgun at but that was because Jor-El possessed him to. It was not because. But then once it went to Lionel, then now it's like which I will say, I was thinking like, oh god, this is depressing as fuck. And then whenever like you find Brainiac, I'm like, ooh, because it's like the reason why, if y'all don't know, because Brainiac knows that Lionel Luthor has the vessel of Jor-El in him. And so he cannot get to Lionel because Lionel could literally destroy the vessel of Brainiac, because Lionel's that powerful because Jor-El's inside of him. So he can't get to Lionel. So he's like, hey, I can't touch him, and he's going to destroy all my plans that are coming up. Lionel is. That's why Lionel keeps telling him about Milton Fine. Milton Fine, you need to find Milton Fine, because Lionel knows that Brainiac is still out there, and you need to stop him before he releases Zod.
But also he wants to catch Clark on his most vulnerable after Jonathan's death and use him and disguises himself to gaslight him and try to question his sanity and whether he should and have him turn against Lionel. And
so I think really what it is he really truly wants to get Clark to kill him. And then when he's talking to Martha, I'm like, okay, that's not real. This is obviously something
that got very shady when he was sitting in the dark.
Clark is one thing, but then like Martha, I'm like, no. And then of course when you say like he's like, kill him, and then whenever Lionel touches him and it turns into Brainiac and destroys one of his Brainiacs. I do like that Brainiac was talking to Lex at the mansion, and he goes, I don't trust you. He goes, about the virus. And then he goes, Lex, he says
it's a vaccine. It's a vaccine. How harm can it do?
If he could take the vaccine and throw it in the garbage, one.
I love the part when he was commenting the historical thing about them poisoning their drink, and did he actually poison that drink from Milton Fine?
Because I really think he did. Milton Fine's like been drinking. He's like, you drank the whole thing without even. Last thing he knows, I think when he took a sip and he goes, I poisoned that drink, and he took the whole sip, and he knows at that point, like he goes, there's no way he would have been like, Instead, he's just like this going.
Yeah, and now Lex is bringing Lana into this whole mess about him collecting every deadly virus on the planet and produce the human vaccine for mankind. It was like, dude, you're giving her a lot of classic information, and you're letting her keep all that shit in her dorm room. I was like, what the hell are you doing?
Also, that was so creepy when Clark was just digging through her stuff and she walks in. The lights are turned off too. He's just like digging through her shit. He goes, Lana, Lex is in danger. I need your help. And then I'm just thinking, like, Clark, you could explain that shit way better. I mean, it just sounds like you're. I like how people.
You could have just came to Lana first instead of just going right through her stuff, and breaking into her dorm room.
Although it was funny when Lois made that comment. Well, Smallville, I thought you'd be at Lana's dorm binoculars by now.
You have no idea. You have absolutely.
Don't worry. There's a movie coming out that I'm going to be doing a lot of that to Lois Lane in. It's called Superman Returns. So don't worry.
Basically stalking your ex-girlfriend.
Just flying around doing X-ray vision on their house going, hey, is my love child and her and then
doing a little peeping Tom.
Hey, like, I mean, that's that movie, honestly, this is mild compared to Superman Returns, which shows him as a fucking creeper where he stalks Lois Lane throughout the entire film. Like, oh, she's going to the roof. All right, Superman time. Oh, I wonder what she's doing tonight. No, but I will say I did like that when Brainiac, he throws the kryptonite, he goes, huh, it glows. And then he goes, you're not one of them. He
was like, close, but I'm not one of them. I was only made by them.
Well, made by them. He goes, and then he puts the knife up to to kill him. And he's like, I need my vaccine, Lex. So he goes, you're going to have to give it to me. And then once Lex takes him there, and then he just knocks out, injects Lex with something, and then throws him, and then punches that. I thought that was the stupidest thing when he went, I punched that. And then
he thought it'd be more badass, like, oh, dude, punches the high voltage and destroyed the vaccine.
Though it was kind of creepy when Lex cut his finger and it immediately fixed itself.
Yeah, it healed. It regenerated.
Ooh, that's going to come back into play.
Because he only needed one dose of the vaccine for Lex in particular, so he's got a big plans for him. He had no intention to creating the vaccine, whether it's for mankind or the Kryptonians. That's not what his intentions were. That's just a part of it. So there's a reason why he's injecting him for a reason. He's got big plans.
I mean, but you know what? You know what's really also, I like how Lex is Clark tries to have their one final heart-to-heart. And he's like, Lex, you were betrayed. And he goes, yes. And now he says, we have the cure for the vaccine to all the vaccines in the world, disease in the world. And he goes, and Fine's gone. He says, and I don't care what Fine is. He says, because guess what? He saved the day. And he says, you know what? I don't care. And then, of course, he's like, also another thing, I don't want to ever hear that you were in Lana. He said, Dorm snuffing through what was it, the line? He said, like a stalkery ex-boyfriend. He said, if you want something from her, you come to me. And I'm just like, that right there. He just throws.
And I was like, he was like, you crossed the line, Clark. Oh, really? I crossed the line. You fucking went on a rebound with my ex-girlfriend, and you toyed with her when she was at her most vulnerable.
Yeah, and I do like that how there's one more piece of birthday cake and some tickets. What were we gonna say, Ryan?
No, it's irrelevant now. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I like how when Chloe gives him that paper, it has a Z-O-D, which anyone that's not blind could say it says Z-O-D.
Literally, it says Z-O-D.
The word Zod.
That can't be Zod. That was a Z-O-D Kryptonian translation for Zod is coming.
I think they made it like that so that way even dumb people can understand. It says Zod. Yeah,
dun, dun,
that?
Dun. Zod?
What? See that? Oh my God! It says Zod. Z-O-D, man. Z-O-D. Zod. Either that or it's the pants. Maybe the pants are coming down to Smallville. Izod.
I did like the part with Lois telling Clark, yeah, you'll be able to find someone else other than Lana. Giving that little piggy bank and for saving up for a bike and saving for Harley. I did like that part.
But I really enjoyed this episode. This was a great episode. I liked seeing James Mash's Brainiac. I liked how Lionel just destroys Brainiac. We saw Jonathan one more time, and I liked how at the end it sets up Zod saying Zod is coming. I get goosebumps when I hear that Zod. When he holds that paper and says Zod is coming, and I'm like,
dun, dun, dun.
And this was before Man of Steel. I mean, I was like, all we have is Terrence Stamps, and we're just like, they're teasing Zod.
Yeah, they've been teasing Zod since the very first episode of the premiere.
I mean,
There's
you can't
literally
do
a
a Superman
CGI
TV
picture of
show.
him floating in episode 4 or 5.
You can't
That
do a Superman TV show without having Zod in there. Otherwise, like, what's the point?
I agree.
All right. So before we end all right, let's do 1 to 10, then we'll ask you, okay?
All right, Jacob, go ahead.
This is a 9 out of 10.
All right, Matt, what about you?
Dude, same, bro. This is the best out of the 3. It really just pushes forward to the main story, setting up Zod, setting up what Brainiac has plans for Lex. It really pushed forward a lot, and it gets you blood pumping for the finale and where this is going to go. So yeah, this is indeed a 9 out of 10.
You know what? I'm going to go 9 as well. This was done really well, and I'm very excited to see, because I've seen the thumbnail for it now. I mean, I'm editing this, so of course I'm going to see the thumbnail, but I've seen the thumbnail. It looks like it's going to be a pretty dark finale, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely, same.
Oh, this is one of the best. I will say it's not the best finale. I said I like the opening and I like the closer to the third act of the episode, but like the middle is where I feel like it slowed down a little bit. But then oh my god, it has a great ending. It has such
The ending left you like, fuck, man, I can't spoil too much.
I cannot wait till like September to get here.
You're gonna be like, if once you get to the end, you're gonna be frustrated how they ended, not in a bad way.
By the way, I was referring to like when it first aired. No, we're not gonna wait till September to cover this. Okay, I just want to point that out to people that are thinking like, "What? We gotta wait till September to not talk about the next episode?"
No, like, no, you don't have to wait.
Yeah, Smalltalk's going on a summer hiatus, y'all.
Yeah, it's gonna go on a summer hiatus. You're gonna have to wait until the fall.
Which, by the way, next week we will be saying goodbye to the WB. It will be Tuesday. We'll be pouring one for the WB, saying goodbye and welcoming the CW, and also, Brian, predictions before we get to the finale. What are you predicting? Let's hear some ideas. We want to hear your wild speculations, and then what you think. Like, I'm 100% sure this is gonna happen. All right.
Well, Zod's coming. That's my big one. Something bad happens to Lex. I'm not sure what, but I think something bad happens to Lex. I'm not saying death, I'm saying something bad. Let's see. My go-to is Jonathan dying, but that's already happened. Martha doesn't die. Those are like my big two.
What's your like wild prediction? Don't just throw it out there like.
Just go wild with it.
We get a hint at Doomsday.
Get a hit at Doomsday.
Because I feel like we're gonna get Doomsday at some point in this. I could be wrong, but we might.
You never know.
No.
But I pass it off to all of you. What did you all think of these 3 episodes? Let us know in the comments. Finale watch party, 9 o'clock tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern here on this channel, so subscribe. We're almost at 500, y'all. We're literally 2 away. So if you have not subscribed, do it. But it's a privilege to do this with these 2 every single week. Jacob, where can the people find you?
They can find me on Pornhub.
Water is wet, fire is hot, but continue.
3D Movie Cinema. And they can also find me under Ryan's bed. I'll be like, hello. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. That's where all the alligators and the boas, or no, pythons are. Nothing but alligators and pythons in Florida.
Oh, funny, because he lives in Florida.
Yeah, because he walks outside. You walk outside, Ryan has to take his life in his hands, because literally he walks outside and it's like, oh my God, you are literally in danger, because everything in Florida wants to kill you. If it's not a tweaker, or it's an alligator, or a python.
Oh yeah, I meant to ask Collins, how's the antebellum been lately? But Matt, where's your channel?
We haven't had that shit in like years.
Oh,
we haven't had that shit since 2014. Okay, thank you very much.
Have you had any dinners with Calvin Candy lately?
Well, I'll have you know. We have not had. We ended slavery in 2014. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's not the flex you think it is, Mr. Collins.
Better late than never, is what I say.
Matt, where is your channel?
Anyway, you can follow me on my social media platforms in the link tree down in the description below, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I uploaded 2 videos of my review, X-Men 97 Season 1 and Furiosa Mad Max Saga. So be sure to check that out. And I do have another review of John Krasinski's If. I recorded it, and I'm in the editing process, so it will be uploaded very soon.
All right, and like I said, as far as this channel goes, we're almost at 500, so if you like what you've seen here, do hit subscribe. I got several Road 2s in the works. I got a lot of stuff coming to the channel, so stay tuned for all of that. But for David Collins, for Matt White, my name is Ryan Cam. For Truth, for Justice, for the American Way, we will see you tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, for the finale. Always hold on to Smallville. Take care.
I was about to say that. You stole it from me, you bastard. I'm just kidding.
That's my line.